All right, for science. All right, it's bent now. Your derailleur hanger is designed to fail, which means that sometimes it can get bent out of shape. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to straighten a bent derailleur hanger. So what is the derailleur hanger? What am I talking about when I keep saying hanger? Well, the hanger is this little piece of metal. This little piece of metal will connect the expensive frame and the expensive derailleur together. It's a little piece that sits just in here. Every bike has their own specific hanger. As in, this is the GT Aggressor. So it has the hanger that's for well, you have a year model GT Aggressor this is. If you have a Trek Madone, there's a different one for a Trek Madone or a giant TCR or anything like that. Every bike has their own hanger. The reason I'm saying this is it's not the sort of thing that you can just walk into any local bike shop and expect them to have it in stock, because they might only have hangers for the brands of bike that they sell. So that's why in this video, we want to talk about how we can repair this hanger. So what can actually cause the hanger to get bent? Well, maybe you hit it with a hammer, for science obviously, or maybe you've crashed and the derailleur's hit the ground, or you had it resting up against the pole at the coffee shop and a young kid's run along and bumped it and now it's fallen on the floor, or you put it in the back of the car and rest the derailleur on the floor or something like that. Regardless of what's happened, you've probably put a bit of weight onto the derailleur, which has in turn bent the hanger, which means that the hanger has done its job because it's designed to fail rather than breaking the expensive derailleur or the expensive frame. A bit annoying, but it's done its job. So this is what it looks like when the derailleur hanger is bent. If we follow the chain line straight down the cassette, over the top jockey wheel and then the bottom jockey wheel, we can see it's not going perfectly straight down. It's kind of pointing inwards a little bit, which means that it's bent. So what we're going to do is straighten the hanger so that we can bring that chain line straight back out to being perfectly straight. When the derailleur hanger is bent, it means that as we're pedaling along, it's not going to sit in that gear perfectly. It's not going to shift gear very well. And even worse than that, if we were to go all the way up the cassette to the easiest gear, going up a steep hill slowly, the derailleur might actually touch onto the spokes, which will rip the derailleur off and pull it all the way around and impact the frame, and catastrophic failure. So we want to make sure that we can save it before we get there. A little story I have here. Once upon a time, I was just saying that the derailleur might go into the spokes and then come around and hit the frame. I actually had it happen once in a downhill race where for some reason I found myself in my easiest gear and the derailleur went into the spokes and it flung the derailleur around, as in swung this all the way around, and it snapped the chain and it snapped the gear cable while it came around and unthreaded itself because the derailleur hanger snapped. And nobody's going to believe this, but I was there, so I can remember it. The derailleur came off the frame, it completely snapped off, and it flew past me. So as I was riding along, I saw my derailleur fly past me and land on the floor, and my freewheel stopped making noise because there was no chain. And I was like, what's going on? Oh my gosh. And I pick it up and it was my derailleur. You couldn't even script that. It was ridiculous. So what tools do we actually need to be able to do this job? First thing, we're gonna need whatever tool it is to take the rear derailleur off. Most of the time it's a 5mm Allen key. Depending on what brand of bike or what brand of derailleur you've got, it might even be a hex key, one of those star ones. So we'll need the Allen key to remove the rear derailleur. And if you've got a little bit of extra money, you can splash out and buy this hanger alignment tool, or if you want to add it to your home workshop and make the tool wall look a little bit bigger, this is a wicked tool to have. But it's also a tool that hopefully you won't need to use very often, so not a waste of money, but maybe not the smartest spend of money. So if you wanted to save a couple bucks, maybe you've already got a shifter spanner, big one, small one, whatever, just one that you're able to adjust here. One of these shifter wrench or shifter spanner, depending on wherever in the world you are. Straightening the hanger at home with this tool is a little bit more difficult, and it's, I would almost say, impossible to get perfect, but it will get you out of a pickle rather than going and buying a big tool like this. But with all that being said, if you do want it to be perfect, you're going to want the hanger alignment tool. All right, now let's talk about actually doing it. Step number one, put it into the smallest cog at the front and the smallest cog at the back. This is a really common step that I have in most jobs whenever we're working on the bike anyway. So we've got small chainring at the front and small cog at the back. That's going to take the most tension off the chain so that when we loosen everything, it's not just going to be spring loaded and, you know, bite your fingers or something like that. So step number one, small and small. Step number two, grab our Allen key to remove the derailleur. Now notice something that I just did there as well. I used the Allen key that has a lot of leverage just to loosen it. And then once it's loosened, now I can take it off and turn it to the side so that I can loosen the derailleur. And we're gonna remove it all the way, and we're just gonna have it resting under the weight. We're just gonna have it resting just down there, just out of the way for now. Cool. And now we're ready to move on to step number 3. Now we have the hanger exposed. The blue part is the expensive frame. The derailleur is now the piece that's sitting completely off. And this orangey, blacky part down here, that's the hanger, which looks kind of similar to this. Now we'll grab our derailleur alignment tool, and we're gonna start by threading this part onto the hanger, which is where the derailleur was sitting before. So you finish threading it onto there, and then this piece down the bottom here is a bar that can slide back and forth. What we're trying to do is bring it down to the bottom here, and notice how I've got the valve here, because it's an easy spot for me to remember on the whole circumference of the wheel. I'm just going to slide this bar across until it's just softly touching the rim, just softly, and then I'm just gonna move it out of the way, bring the valve to the top. So we were at 6 o'clock and now we're up at 12 o'clock. And we can see how much of a gap there is here. There's actually quite a large gap. What our goal is here is to have the same gap at the top and the bottom, and the gap is hopefully null, 0. So at the bottom we were touching it, and up here there's quite a gap. So we want to push it to bring it a little bit closer. Now this is the part where it can all go a little bit wrong, so just be a bit careful. We don't want to snap the hanger, we just want to bend it delicately. My trick that I've learned is to hold the bottom part still, because that's kind of our pivot point that we're moving on, and we want to push up on here. We don't just want to bounce in and move it, we just want to try and move it softly, just a little bit, and that felt like it was quite a bit. And now I can bring it back down to the bottom, and notice how there's more of a gap down here now, which is a good thing. So I can loosen it, touch the rim just softly, and then bring it back to the top. And we've still got a tiny little gap here, so a lot better, but it's not quite perfect yet. So we'll redo the same process. Holding the base still, because that's our pivot point, and we're pushing the top part in just softly. This is actually really scary because you don't want it to break. We'll check our work. Man, that's pretty damn close. I'm gonna double check that actually, because I think we got it, but I was expecting us to do it 4 or 5 times. That's just touching the rim down there. And then if I bring it up to the top, we're just touching the rim up there as well. So that means that the derailleur hanger is now straight. If you want to be extra sure, you can even check back and forth as well, because it might have twisted a little bit. So that got a fraction of a millimeter, so I could try and move it just a tiny little bit, but I don't want to overdo it. There you go, now I'm just touching on the blue sticker there. So perfect, happy with that. Now I will remove the derailleur hanger tool. And if you didn't have this tool and you're wondering, how do I use the other tool? I'll quickly try and show you here. So the derailleur hanger, we've said, is this black and orange piece that's poking out. So what we can try and do is get the shifter spanner or shifter wrench, wherever in the world you are, tighten it onto there, jiggle it while we get it nice and tight, and then with a bit of brute force, I won't actually do it because it's already perfect. With a bit of brute force, we can try and twist it that way or twist it back that way. Again, we're just gonna be going by eye here, so it's a little bit difficult to get it perfect, but it'll save you, I have no idea how much that tool is, but I'd imagine it's a couple $100. So it'll save you a couple $100 maybe. So tighten it up and then just move it in or move it out. You don't just wanna pull it out really quickly, because again, we don't wanna break it, we just wanna bend it a little bit. And now we're ready to refit the derailleur. I would recommend a little bit of grease on the thread of the derailleur, just so that in a year's time when you have to take it off again, it's not going to be completely seized. And we'll refit the derailleur. As we're tightening up the derailleur, there's a few screws, or there's one screw that just has to be lined up perfectly. So we'll get the first couple of threads on there with our Allen key on the outside, and then on the back side of the derailleur, we've got the B tension screw. The B tension is the one that will adjust how close the derailleur sits to the jockey wheels. Just make sure that that's getting up over the lip of the hanger. If you tighten it up without lifting the derailleur back like this, you could bend that bolt, and then the B tension screw won't be able to do what it needs to do when we're adjusting it. Another little story time that I just thought about while I was standing there is back in the day, and I don't know when I'm talking about, but it might be 90s, maybe even in the 80s maybe. there used to be the frame and the derailleur. There was no hanger. The hanger was built into the frame. It was part of the frame. And if you were unlucky enough to hit the deck in a crash and the derailleur hit the floor and it bent that part of the metal, that was part of the frame. And you weren't able to get them replaced because it was part of the frame. So if you had a crash and you hit the ground, you might have to replace the entire frame just because you had a little bingle because someone cut your wheel. And then some genius, I don't know what his or her name is, Mr. or Mrs. Hanger, designed this hanger, this little like $30, $40, $50 piece, which is literally designed to fail, and you can just replace it. So I don't know the name of the person. I might do a quick Google search after this. If we figure it out, I'll put the name down here of who the genius was. But thank you, Mr. or Mrs. Hanger, for inventing the hanger. And now that we know that our hanger is nice and straight and it's all aligned well, you might need to do a quick little gear tune here. I won't go into it too in depth in this video because we've done a pretty popular one further back in our YouTube channel about how to adjust your gears on your bicycle. So if you think that you need to do a gear tune, go check that video out now. A little side note I'm just going to mention here as well is if you have bent your hanger and now you've had to bend it back straight, it means that it's a little bit more brittle because there's a piece of metal that's bent and now it's bent back. So I've been through a few different transformations through its life now. So I would recommend going to your local bike shop that sells the brand of bike that you sell and saying, hey guys, can I please order a spare hanger for my bike? It's a 2016, whatever it is, and they might be able to order one for you. It's a good thing to have sitting in your shed. Hopefully you won't need it, but it's a bit of free insurance. It's always a good idea to have a spare hanger as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope watching this video helped to make the process of fixing your bike a little bit easier now that you know how to align your derailleur hanger. Otherwise, I'm going to say thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next video. See you guys.